Coach Jason Capson here, and today we're going to talk about the fallout of Milos and Samson and James. Those of you who have been following along probably know, no doubt at this point, that Samson Dauda and Milos Sarcev have parted ways. You may have also heard that James Hollingshead has also left Milos, and it's interesting to me because there's been a lot of people, a lot of comments up there, of course. And it's interesting to me because, in the sport of bodybuilding, a lot of people change coaches. It happens all of the time. The timing is interesting, and we're going to get right into that because as a coach, a guy that has coached hundreds of bodybuilders over the years, having been a bodybuilder myself, and just watched how this whole thing kind of plays out, I can speak to the fact that it's not uncommon for coaches and athletes to part ways. What I do find, though, is oftentimes it's not for the reasons that people think or believe. Now, the timing is interesting. Of course, Samson just finished second at the Arnold Classic, and a lot of people comment on the fact that he didn't bring the condition. This has been a problem, not a problem, but this has been an issue with Samson forever. Conditioning has always been an issue when compared to folks like Hadi. I mean, that's obviously a thing, but Hadi brings conditioning he just brings a ton of conditioning to every show that he's in as a rule. It just so happens that he brought his best conditioning ever, in my opinion, maybe second best conditioning he's ever brought to the table ever at this past Arnold Classic. And Samson just ran into a juggernaut again, and he lost to Hadi. Now, I don't know that that's necessarily all on Milos. Milos, let's be honest. I mean, Milos got Samson an Arnold championship. He got him a top 3 placement at the Olympia. He got a second place at this, Arnold's. So, is Milos a bad coach? I don't think so. I think he brought James. I think James was in the best shape of his life. Was his peak perfect? Maybe not. But that's a different story. That's a story for another day. I don't know what's going on there. But when you look at Regan Grimes, for example, Regan Grimes last year had some of the best conditioning he's ever had in his life. So, can Milos bring an athlete, a competitor, to the stage in top condition? The answer is yes, because he did it with Regan Grimes. Now, here's the thing that I know for a fact. Usually, when an athlete changes coaches, it's not necessarily because one coach has some kind of magic formula. Those of you who have been in bodybuilding for a while know there's no real secrets. There's no real top secrets in the world of bodybuilding. Here's what I think. I think sometimes, actually most times, I think athletes just need a change of scenery. They need a change of direction. They need a change of, it's a connection thing. I think 99% of the time when an athlete leaves a coach, it's just because they need a different connection. Look at Chris Bumstead as an example. Ian was his coach, his brother-in-law, his own brother-in-law was his coach for many, many, many years. He got him his pro card. He got him his pro wins. He got him the Olympia win. He did everything he could with him. But I don't know, Chris switching over, I don't know that it was necessarily that, there's a better coach now. I think Ian is a fantastic coach. I just think that Ian was focusing on his bodybuilding career, and Chris just needed someone that was just a little more focused on him as an athlete. Do I think that Chris looks better now with his new coach? He certainly does. But do I think that there's these top secret things that his new coach is bringing to the table? No. Because again, in the world of bodybuilding, there really isn't very many top secrets. Most of the top coaches know about the right chemicals. They know about, pre-contest. They know how to put on size. They know how to get people shredded as a rule. Because again, there's no real secrets in that realm. I believe that what happens a lot of times is athletes just stop responding to their current coach. And I think they just need a change of scenery. I think what we're going to see with Samson, no matter who he picks next, I think Samson is going to look better at his next show. And that's not because his new coach is going to do anything magical. Remember, when Chris Bumstead switched coaches, he was at the very end of his prep for the Olympia. He was right there. It wasn't like the last week or anything, but he was well on his way. And I think, he got to a new level for sure. But do I think he would have got there with Ian? I do. So I think what's going to happen, Samson is going to have a new coach. I think this new coach is going to bring a fire to Samson that he hasn't had in a while. Again, it's a personality issue, I think, more so than a coaching issue. I don't think there's any, I know, there's been some question about, a bad breakup. And I don't know that it's necessarily fair to blame his appearance, Samson's appearance at the Arnold Classic. I don't think it's fair to blame that all on Milos. I know some people have said it. Again, having been a coach for many years, I don't think it's fair to blame the coach for the ultimate success of a bodybuilding athlete on that stage. Now, again, there's a lot to that. There is a lot to, so again, if Milos had never brought anybody to the stage shredded in great condition, then I would say, well, maybe Milos doesn't have that nail, but he does. He's got that down. He proved it with Regan Grimes and other athletes. He's got it down. Now, can Samson get that level of conditioning? The level of conditioning, say, of a hottie. Maybe just genetically he can't do it. Maybe there's not a coach on earth that can get him that level of conditioning, the conditioning of a hottie. I think hottie has the genetics to bring that kind of conditioning for years and years and years to come. So I think, again, that no matter who his next coach is, I think Samson is going to bring a different level of conditioning to the stage just because there is going to be a change of energy. There's going to be a change of personality. There's going to be somebody new, somebody fresh that's going to bring some, new energy. Is he going to bring anything new to his prep? I don't know. Is he going to bring anything new during peak week? Who knows? Because I said this in my last video and I'll say it again. I think something went wrong during peak week for Samson because leading up to the show, he was on track as far as what I could see. And I think peak week, something went sideways. I think something went wrong. Now, whether that is a Milos issue or whether that's a Samson issue, we don't know. Sometimes it is just an athlete issue. And as a coach, you can't necessarily get them through. I've had athletes that worked with other coaches that brought them, had a certain level of conditioning, that had a certain level on that stage. And then they worked with me and they took it to the next level. I've also had the opposite happen. I've had athletes that I've worked with that I brought to the stage that looked really, really well. And they switched coaches and then they looked incredible at their next show. Now, is that a coaching thing or is it an athlete thing? I think it is just simply a personality thing. Why do athletes leave coaches? I think it has more to do with personality conflict or personality symbiosis. I think there's like the synergy of a coach and an athlete, especially a bodybuilder. A lot of it is psychological. There's a lot. You have to be a counselor as much as you have to be a coach with a lot of athletes, both male and female. You have to know how to talk to your athletes. You have to know how to treat your athletes. And every athlete is a little bit different. Do I think that Samson is going to bring a new level of conditioning to the next show? I do. Do I think it's going to be because of new coach? I don't know if it's going to be any magic pill potion, some kind of, voodoo. Who knows? But I do know that he probably will look better in upcoming shows or even next year or even at the Olympia because of the new energy that's going to be brought to the table by a fresh perspective from a new coach. Do I think that any coach is going to go in and know more than Milos or have any secrets that Milos doesn't have? No, I don't think so. I think there's just going to be a change and a change of personality. And I think sometimes that's really, really good for an athlete. So let's not just jump on the bandwagon of trashing Milos. I think he's an incredible coach. I think he's done incredible work with his athletes. I just think it's time for Samson to have some new blood. I think it's just some time for him to have a new connection with a new coach who might be able to bring him to that next level of conditioning. That's my opinion. That's what I think. Tell me what you think. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. Do you think Samson is going to bring a new level of conditioning with a new coach? Do you think that Milos has lost all of his traction? Do you think that athletes are going to start dropping off from Milos? Or do you think other people... Again, if I'm an athlete and I see what Milos has done with the likes of Regan Grimes, with the likes of James, with the likes of Samson, I'm thinking, Milos is a pretty good coach. I think, and again, leading into the show, everybody was praising Milos and how amazing he was doing with his athletes and how many top-level athletes he was bringing to the stage. Now, all of a sudden, Milos is like, oh, everyone's quitting on him. He sucks. Nobody won the show. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair to Milos. And I think a lot of this falls on the athlete themselves, because at the end of the day, it is the athlete that needs to put in the work. It is the athlete that needs to sacrifice. It is the athlete that needs to suffer. It's just a fact. If you're going to get into top shape, conditioning wise, you've got to suffer. And a coach cannot do that for you. You have to do it yourself as an athlete. So let me know what you think. Thoughts, opinions, take them all. Bring it on. Take care, guys.